Hello students, welcome to Coding Treasures. In the last class, we learned about open function, right? So what is the use of open function? So we use open function to open a file to perform some operations, right? So what are the operations we can perform on a file? So basically we can perform two operations. We can write some content onto the file and we can read the content from the file. To write the content onto the file, you can open your file in two different modes. What are those modes? So you can open your file either in write mode or you can open your file in read mode. So what is write mode? If you open an existing file in write mode, the old content of file will be erased and the new content will be written onto the file. Then what is append mode? So if you open a file in append mode, the old content of the file will not be erased. The old content also will be retained and you can add some more extra content to the file. So we have two methods to write content onto the file. They are write method and writelines method. So what is write method? Write method will write a single string onto the file. So what about writelines method? So writelines method will write a sequence of string onto the file. Now we will discuss these two methods in detail. First we will discuss write method. So we already learned write method in the last class. So why are we using write method? So we are using write method to write a string onto the file. So write method will accept a string as argument. That content will be written onto the file. So write method returns a number of characters written onto the file. For example, if you write hello onto the file using write method, it will return 5 because hello contains 5 characters. So I said that write method accepts a string as an argument. If the string contains multiple sentences, each sentence should end with a /n character to mark that is the end of the line. So we will see an example for write method. I am going to create a file named file1. So first I will create a file object obj is equal to, I'll use open function. I have to pass two arguments. The first one is the file name. So I will write the location of the file, D drive, we have my files. Then I will write the file name file1.txt. I am going to open the file only to perform a reading operation. So I will mention W. Now the file is created. We can go to D drive, go to my files, check the file is created, but the file is empty. Now I am going to write something onto the file. I will write obj.write. I will write a string as Python is. Now it returns 13 because this sentence has 13 characters. So now I will write obj.close. I'm closing the file, go to my files and open the file. So the content is written onto the file. So what is the content? Python is fun. So next we have writelines method. So writelines method accepts a sequence of string as argument. That sequence can be a list, so it can be a tuple, etc. So we learned that write method will return number of characters that is written onto the file. But writelines method does not return anything. So let us see an example for writelines method. So we know that writelines function will take a sequence of strings as argument. So let me create a list first. So I'm creating a list here. There are 3 strings as elements of the list. The first string is Python is fun. Then second string is Python is great. So I am going to add /n to this. I will add /n to the next string also. Then these elements will be written onto different lines in the file. So the list is created. Next I am going to create a new file. I will use object obj, open function, pass the location D drive, my files folder. Then I will write file2.txt. I will open this file only to perform writing operation. So the file is created. Now I am going to write the content onto the file using writelines method. I will pass list1. Content is written onto the file. Now I will close object. The object is closed. Let's go to my files. Open the file. See, content is written on different lines. So we learned how to write content onto the file using two different methods. Now we are going to learn how to read the content of a file. To read the content of a file, we can open the file in four different modes. What are those? We can open the file in R mode, we can open the file in R plus mode, or we can open the file in A plus or W plus mode. To read the content of a file, we have three different methods. What are those? We have read method, we have readline method, and we have readlines method. Okay, first we will discuss about read method. Read method also we discussed in the last class. The read method is used to read a specified number of character from a file. For example, if you write object.read of 5, it will read only first 5 characters of the file. If you don't pass any argument to the read method, it will read the entire content of the file. Let me take an example for read method. I am going to open file 2 to perform only reading operation. So file 2 is opened in read mode. Now using object, I will read only the first 4 characters of the file. So it reads pyth, only 4 characters. Now again I will use read function and I am not passing any argument. So it reads the entire content of the file. Here we read first 4 characters of the file. The remaining characters from 5th character to the last character is read over here. Now if you write object dot read, it prints an empty string. So each file ends with an empty string. Okay, next we have readline method. Readline method will read the content of file line by line. You can even pass number of argument to readline method. So just imagine there are 10 characters in the first line of a file. If you pass 5 as argument to readline method, it will read only the 5 characters of that particular line. And if you pass more than 10 characters to readline method, still it will read only 10 characters because it can read only a single line at a time. Now let me explain readline method with an example. So readline function read the content of the file line by line. So here I have opened the file named file2 and it is opened only for performing reading operation with the help of object obj. Now I will read the first line of the file. I will copy this, paste over here, read the second line, read the third line. So all 3 lines are already read, so that it is printing next empty string. So we know that a file ends with an empty string. Now I will read the entire content of the file using readline method. I will reopen the file again. I will use while true line is equal to obj dot readline, print the line. If the line is equal to empty string, it means that we have reached at the end of the file. So we have to break the loop. Now we will come out of the loop. So it is printing entire content of the file line by line. So last we have readlines method. So what is readlines method? Readline method will read the entire content of the file at once and return the content as a list of strings. I am going to open a file. Name of the file is file2. Going to open the file in read mode. Next, I am going to write content is equal to obj dot read lines. So we know that read lines will read the entire content of the file and it returns the content as a list of strings. So that will be stored in content. So let me display content. So it displays the content as list of strings. Okay, now I will use a for loop line in content. I'm going to print each line. So look at this, the whole content is printed line by line. Okay students, I hope you understood all the methods to read the content from the file and write the content onto the file. In the next class, we will discuss about seek and tell methods. So if this video is helpful, kindly like the video, share this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.